welcome back to my channel True Crime and Trials, where I discuss true crime and trials. My name's Lindsay and I think you know what I'm going to say right now, and I am cracking on with the Bob Durst trial, and the next witness is Janet Finke-Shaw. Now, she was friends with Bob and Kathy, and how that came about was she had a cleaning service and she cleaned the house next door to Bob and Kathy in South Salem, so Bob and Kathy ended up hiring her as well. She says Kathy was kind, thoughtful, intelligent and friendly, and Bob was friendly, nice and professional. Over time, her relationship became more friendlier and they ended up close friends, and she was able to have nice conversations with Bob too. She says of Bob and Kathy's relationship, it seemed nice, but it did change after a period of time where they appeared to not get on as well and they were drifting apart. At some point, Janet did move to California, so most of her contact was over the phone. So we go back to when Janet was cleaning their house, and she says she was never aware and never saw Kathy doing any drugs. But at some point, she did become aware later on she was using cocaine recreationally or occasionally, Kathy that is, and she would never have characterised Kathy as being a cocaine addict. In fact, nowhere near one. So when Janet moved to California, Bob and Kathy would come and visit her, and she goes on to talk about when she talked to them over the phone, and she said she would speak to them by phone separately, but Kathy more, and they would speak maybe 6 times or more in a month. And it was during one of these phone calls that she became aware that Kathy and Bob's marriage had got worse. Kathy would tell her how unhappy she was. Bob didn't say anything about it, but Janet didn't speak to him that often. Kathy also told her about wanting a divorce. So Janet did end up moving back to New York, and at the time things were pretty good again with Kathy and Bob. Then it got worse again. On a visit from California, Janet, Kathy, Bob and some friends went on a night out. When they got back, Janet left the room, she says, to go to the restroom, and when she got back, something had happened and a male friend of theirs had been hit. She had been told Bob had kicked him in the eye. It was Kathy that told her that. She was surprised Bob had done something like that because she had never known him to do anything like that before, but she didn't ask questions because she didn't want to get involved. Kathy told her while Janet was in California about the incident where she climbed out of the New York penthouse window onto the balcony and went to the neighbours. She says Kathy was crying while telling her this and she was worried and scared. Janet never asked Bob about that incident either. Kathy also told Janet about Bob's affairs he was having and how it was affecting her. Janet did speak to Bob briefly later on, and he told her that he didn't know why Kathy wanted a divorce. Janet didn't say anything to him about it, and she felt that Bob didn't really want a divorce. She didn't really like prying. I think she had no choice when Kathy was spilling her guts to her. She just listened, and Bob, she just talked to us, she never really asked any questions of him, even though she'd been told numerous details by Kathy. She didn't really want to delve into it with Bob, and I don't think Bob was very forthcoming about it either. So on the 31st of January 1982, Bob and Kathy were supposed to go visit her when she had moved back to New York. They were supposed to have dinner, but Janet called later to cancel because of the bad weather. Bob called Janet to tell her that Kathy was missing 4 or 5 days later after the fact and asked if she had seen her. Bob told her that he and Kathy had had an argument before he took her to the train station. Janet didn't ask any more. She was very concerned about what might have happened to Kathy. A month after Kathy's disappearance, Janet met up with Bob in a cafe. They talked about how they were both feeling, how things were going, and Bob had some questions for her and they just chatted. He asked her where she thought She asked her what she thought might have happened to Kathy. So on to Susan Berman. Janet knows of Susan Berman but never met her, although there may have been one time but she can't be sure, and she was aware that Susan was a close friend of Bob's. So when the reinvestigation was opened up about Kathy's disappearance, Janet received a phone call from Bob. She said they had a nice conversation, but they didn't discuss the reinvestigation. The Kathy she knew would never have voluntarily just disappeared. She wouldn't have left her nursing or her family. Janet has no negative feeling towards Bob. Kind of got that vibe anyway. She didn't want to drop either of them in it, so she stayed quite neutral, I reckon. So the cross-examination. She found Bob easy to get along with, and she felt she could be herself around him, and he treated her like a friend. So on the night out, they were walking to the club they were going to, and they came across a woman with children that were begging in the street, and Bob gave her two $20 bills. So with this, the defence are trying to make out that Bob was so kind, and he wasn't that much of a cheapskate. Beg to differ on that one. She had never heard of Kathy ever taking the train anywhere, so to be told that Kathy had taken a train back to the city on the night she disappeared was unusual to her. Janet is asked if she remembers telling Mr. Lewin that Kathy had delivered a large manila envelope with information on the finances of the Durst organisation to the divorce lawyer. She says she remembers the envelope but doesn't remember being told what was in it. When she and Bob met up at the cafe a month after Kathy had gone missing, Bob did ask her about a doctor Kathy was having an affair with. Janet didn't know the doctor's name and just told Bob she knew of him. Janet didn't actually believe that Bob could have had anything to do with Kathy's disappearance until the police got involved and she watched the jinx, although Kathy had told her that she thought her life was in danger. So the redirect. The Bob Durst she thought she knew wouldn't have been capable of the things he did admit to doing to Kathy. And she had no idea about a lot of the things that were going on. So, I think Janet had quite a good friendship with them both, to be honest. And I think it more than likely was a massive shock to find out, about everything that were going on, and things didn't make sense, but she didn't really want to believe bad things about either of her friends. But she held herself well on the stand. I don't think she could have said much more. There was nothing major towards either Kathy or Bob. The drug thing again. She never saw Kathy doing it. She never noticed anything going on. And as we know, that Bob and Kathy's relationship was very up and down anyway. So there we go. So as you know, I'll be back with more in another video. So until then, bye for now.